So hi everyone, I'm Andrew Sladen from Koala. I'm the Director of Engineering over there right now. Got about 17 years of experience in software engineering across e-com and retail and a bit of logistics and professional services in there. So great to be talking to you all today. Great to meet you all. So very poignantly for a mattress in a box retailer, we started our tech and digital journey with a shop in a box, which I think you all know what I mean by that, like off-the-shelf kind of SaaS commerce solution. You can just sign up today and you could probably be selling tonight, right? If you're not too fussed about how everything looks. And that's great for getting to market quickly, right? Like if you've got your product and you just want to get that in front of the customers and start getting those sales, like hell or high water, that's great. You just sign up and you're going. You get product pages and category pages and payment solutions, checkouts and carts and discounting and promotional abilities. That's all there. And we had a great time with our shop in a box provider, like not just at a technical level, but at a business and relationship level. Great account guys, great account reps and account managers and solution designers. It was a great relationship for Koala for years. But eventually we started to notice that we were limited in what we wanted to do by what that platform can do when it comes down to it. There's a point where you want to do something, but the way that platform conceptualizes, what is an e-commerce website? What is a product page? What is a checkout experience? At some point, you want to go somewhere that they weren't thinking of, that was maybe anti what they were thinking of when their engineers and their product team conceived of this platform that you're buying off them. So just to get a bit, cutesy, like there's a poet I'm going to quote called Robert Browning, who's the one who said, a man's reach should exceed his grasp. So which is just about, trying to push the boundaries a bit, trying to do the stuff that you think might be impossible because, maybe it will turn out to be possible. So I'm just riffing on that a bit to say that sometimes as a retailer, like your reach will exceed the grasp of your platform, of your tools. You'll be wanting to do things that they didn't even conceive of when they built this thing. And it's fine for a while, right? Like you ignore those things you can't do. You kind of pop those off into a drawer like, no, I can't do that. There's heaps of things to do. There's heaps of things to focus on. Heaps of things to optimize in your store and your website. But that list keeps growing and growing of the things that you can't do. And at some point you look at it and you look at all these paths not traveled and all these opportunities not taken and the kind of all the money not made. And you think like, that's not good enough. Like there's got to be something else. I've got to make a big change. I've got to sort of break out of this box that I'm in, that I'm being limited by. And so that's kind of what we tried to do at Koala. Yeah. If we move on to the next one. So in 2017 we tried for our first in-house developed website and storefront. So we kept the shop in a box in terms of order management and the checkout actually that the customer would deal with and the payment stuff. It was too big a mouthful all at once to replace all of that, but we made our own website and that was controlled in-house. And this was our first go at Headless Commerce, which you all might have heard of. It's just, the idea of headless is you separate the customer-facing website bit, that's the head in this analogy, from the core functionality of the system. That's the body, right? It's just trying to get at the idea that if you've got a great commerce system, it doesn't have to be your customer-facing website as well. If you've got a great content management system, it doesn't have to be your customer-facing website. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And the tipping point for us to even, bother with this at 2017, to take on this project of going headless, V1 for us, was page speed. We really wanted to drill down hard on page speed, right? Make our site load as fast as possible. I think a lot of us have seen the research, the articles and papers that go around about the connection between page speed, site speed and conversion rate, which is all just saying faster website, more money, right? At the bottom of it all. And look, there's lots of things you can do to make your website faster using that shop in a box, just off the shelf thing. Get your content smaller, get your image sizes smaller and reduce the amount of JavaScript, add-ons that are running and put something like a Fastly or a Cloudflare kind of CDN in between your customers and the server. Heaps of things you can do. But at some point, you've done all those easy ones that are almost point and click. And the next optimization you want to do to shave another 100 milliseconds off and make even more money, then that next optimization has to be done in the app itself, in the platform itself, maybe on that platform server. And you don't control any of that, do you, right? Because that was the game, that was the deal. You sign up for an off-the-shelf thing, and that's supposed to be the great thing about it. I don't have to worry about how it's hosted or, bug fixing it or, applying the security updates to this or that. I'm totally cut off from that. It's a black box to me. So that very thing that was the good thing at the start, especially when you were small, spins round and becomes the Achilles heel once you reach a certain part of your kind of tech maturity. When you need that control, you need to be able to delve into the app itself and change something because that makes sense for you. So that's what we realised. We need to control everything about how that page loads for the customers, even the low-level technical bits. So with our in-house website, customised website, we were able to get markedly improved page load and page performance stats, and a lot more control for our marketing people over the upper funnel in terms of how people interact with our site. So if we go on to the next slide, here it comes. Yes. So with our Headless V1 solution, we were able to move from just 5 different mattresses you could buy to 370 different sellable, distinct items that you could buy on our website. This is over the period of 2017 to 2021. We went from 1 category to 13 categories, and we even expanded into Japan, which there's someone at Koala called Mark Mitchardson who says like the most complicated and hardest to get right kind of, APAC market to break into is Japan. So we thought we'd just do the hardest one first and then everything would be easier. But it's going well, we're learning every day and Japan's going really good for Koala. So all that work that we'd done to that point with our headless, take one, it still didn't have enough vision to it. It didn't have enough foundation for the kind of product catalog expansions we wanted to do, the kind of market expansions we wanted to do. After a couple of years, we were fighting the shop in a box thing, and after a couple more years, we were fighting our first go at headless, it turned out. So the whole thing had been done a bit too quickly was one thing. There's one thing I'd caution against is, there's an art to that, but getting our custom website out the door was a bit too fast, all told. The content management had sort of been bolted on as an afterthought as a result of that, which meant that engineers, like high technical people, were getting in the mix and having to be consulted in some way to do minor content changes, minor layout changes. Still, you've got to wait, even if it's just a tick and flick sort of thing we're talking about, you're still waiting on this small, group of people to get all these changes out. It's very frustrating for marketing and creative and physical product people. And we're also, as I said, still using the checkout that comes from our off-the-shelf platform, and that was starting to bite too, right? Like our logistics people keep coming up with these wonderful ideas, right? These innovative ideas about little things that you could change, little extra offers you give to the customer. And usually that means you've got to have some sort of interaction with them in checkout, right? On the delivery page often. You need to ask them another question of some sort. Get them to make another selection of some sort. So imagine if we're wanting to offer some, cool 2-person delivery to the room of your choice, and we'll assemble it for you and we'll take all the rubbish away, right? It's great stuff. But to actually get that happening on the checkout, there's data that needs to be consulted by the website for that. I mean, you need to know if this person's in a region that supports that. You need to know if they're buying the SKUs that support that. You need to know if the provider of this service is kind of full up for today or for what days, right? You can't just be offering 200 assembly jobs if they can only do 20 in one day. So all of this stuff requires, a bunch of data translation and aggregation on the website, a bunch of smarts, and it's just too hard to do in these shop in a box websites that usually have a very vanilla, very horizontal kind of checkout experience, especially when you care. Especially when you care deeply about kind of really great unified customer experience like we do, and especially when you want to do these things in multiple markets. Like if I do that premium thing in Australia and then I try and do it again in Japan, there's going to be like 5 weird little differences with what the providers can actually do. And so the tech solution is going to have to change as well. You just need heaps of flexibility. So all of this to say, we realised we had to take another big step somehow. We needed to take the learnings from our last 5 years and figure out where we need to go. The main learning there was that we just need to be in control of our customer experience, like the entirety of it. Because that's what we're about. Like, that's what we choose to be about, is just great customer experience no matter how you interact with us. It's the product, it's the marketing, it's the website, it's the aftercare and return stuff. That's our play, that's our bet, is that as good a customer experience as you can craft, it means the money will follow, right? That's our overall bet with the business. So we need to be able to bring best-in-class services together in all sort of areas and control how they're connected together and how we bring our customer experience to life. We need to control, on the tech and website, we need to control that page that loads on the person's device when it comes down to it. With all this stuff about bringing services together, like what we were talking about was Mark, basically, but we didn't even know that word yet. We hadn't talked to commercetools yet, and that just hadn't come across our desks. But that's the philosophy. We were talking to each other about, like, where we wanted to get to, this totally composable tech solution. But we didn't want to reinvent the wheel here, right? We're not looking to make a commerce system or a content management system. That's been done, and that is a nice, easy, like, single piece when done right that can be just, that can be bought off the shelf and brought together with other services. What we did want to do was build a fresh web platform, and this is what we did. A platform that can support many different sites that Koala wants to run, say in every individual country, and maybe in other, different types of Koala, sub-brands that we might want to launch in the future, and maybe totally other brands that we want to spin off in the future. We wanted to make a web platform that would support all of that, which we did. Though that platform now needs a commerce foundation under it, needs a commerce solution that can support all of these sites. And so we did a big RFP process with a bunch of providers and put them through lots of validation and analysis. And after all of that, after making them jump through lots of hoops, like commercetools was our clear winner, because of that Mark stuff, right? Because they made the Mark principles and they follow them. They do one thing well, which is be a commerce engine and everything that entails in terms of, products and discounts. But you're not fighting their system or their design when you're trying to make your website. We're able to move from 370 odd products to 670 odd products in under a year. Now, previously it had been 4 years to bring 370 things to market. Now we're doing almost that again in less than a year. So in terms of time to market, that was fantastic with this Mark-based web solution that we had going. We could go from like 13 categories to 29 and launch in another market, which is our South Korea, our Republic of Korea market, like it was almost nothing. Like it was just bringing a few more products and a few more pages onto a site, right? Like it was really fantastic. If you're in charge of e-commerce for a retailer, the experience of the customers is the thing that you can control. You can't control your competitors. You can't control your input prices, like your container costs and fuel costs. You can't control how the customers are browsing and their habits and what devices they're using. But you can take account of all these things, this context, and craft the best customer experience possible given that. And to do that, you just need heaps of flexibility. You need your tech to largely be getting out of your way. You need heaps of flexibility to be able to change things, in different parts of your whole tech ecosystem. You've got to be able to get the best web solution and commerce solution and content solution, payments, analytics, data warehousing, customer account solutions, all the things, and bring them together and control how you glue them together. So that when you need a new payment solution in Singapore because your current one just doesn't work there, or you need a different content management solution because actually this one's holding me back now, or even a new commerce solution, like this is totally plausible to replace because it's not all kind of tied together in a spaghetti-like architecture that means you're just stuck exactly where you are, right? And driving that change, actually driving that change when it does come up, because it will come up. You will have to change your payment system. You will have to, for some reason. You have to change your content system for some reason. like they go bankrupt sometimes, which is annoying, right? So then you definitely got to change. Being able to actually make that change and not have your business fall in a heap is that third point, the strong internal team. It doesn't mean you have to have a total ton of engineers and super tech people. Like, I'm an engineer by trade, so I think that's great, but it's not for everyone, right? At the minimum, it just means you've got to have a strong set of kind of project manager type and product manager type people who can engage and manage relationships with, you know, a bunch of agencies and technical providers and partners. You can have partners and, you know, your panel of partners doing all this work for you. The main thing is that every time you give them a bit of work, you tell them, this stuff you're doing for me today, I've got to be able to pull it out in 2 years' time and replace it with something comparable, and that should not be the end of the world. And if you take that mindset, it's just a mindset thing, right? This mark idea. If you take that mindset with every bit of work that you do, before long you look down and you see you've got this incredibly flexible ecosystem of solutions. And you can expand and contract in different areas, you know, independently, and you can pull things out and replace them.